easy to see when you look at me. This black It's easy to see when you look at me. This black cat ain't just backing down. One thing, homie, if you don't know me, SEO, I'ma always hold the crown. You're trying to play clean, just leave the scene. It ain't too late, better pack it up. You just gotta ask if you don't know me. Just know one thing, I ain't backing down. Any living thing that cannot coexist must cease to exist. It's a rap, yeah, that's it. Got a lot of tough talk for someone still on that government cheese. You still ain't got what you need. I think you done went crazy. I let your ass into my world and you popped up just like a daisy. Gave you a hand up instead of a handout. You must be sober and bored, looking for some clout. Every time you go to your little crew, you block me just like a little punk. Do you still ain't even manned up? Mad about some fucking timestamps? Dude, shut the fuck up, you fucking dweeb. All you do is rank them long tail keywords. I know this must be a prank. That's why you been labeled spam king of the year. No worries, cause a real black cat is here. It's easy to see when you look at me. This black cat ain't just backing down. One thing, homie, if you don't know me, SEO, I'ma always hold the crown. You're trying to play clean, just leave the scene. It ain't too late, better pack it up. You just gotta ask if you don't know me. Just know one thing, I ain't backing down. I come at you with my black hat and shovel in my hand like the Grim Reaper to bury your ass. I size your body up and put some white chalk around it. Yeah, now let's talk about being grounded. You bitch about me, stealing your method when your dumb ass just gives it away. If it not, use a Pop-Tart, sweetheart, you're soft in the middle. So stop acting hard, cause you weak and you brittle. I'll eat your hate for breakfast, now that's a good start. You have no history and you ain't even smart. You never ranked anything of value, nothing, never. So stop fronting, man, you ain't even clever. I put you out there and now you think you a big shot. Remember where you come from in case you forgot. What's given can be taken away. I ain't mad at you, I'm logging out, have a nice day. It's easy to see when you look at me. This black cat ain't just backing down. One thing, homie, if you don't know me, SEO, I'ma always hold the crown. You're trying to play clean, just leave the scene. It ain't too late, better pack it up. You just gotta ask if you don't know me. Just know one thing, I ain't backing down.
Hey guys, it's William here, and today we're going to be talking with Mr. Jonathan Johnson. We're going to talk about his story, his agency, how he got started, where he's at, his experience, everything. So make sure to get your questions in. He's done a little bit of everything from regular local SEO, commerce SEO, e-commerce SEO, as well as affiliate SEO. And I know a lot of you guys want to know about affiliate SEO, especially I definitely want to know about affiliate SEO. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring them on in. Oh. Hey, sorry about that.
No worries. How's it going?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right. Name of your company. What is it? Streamline Results.
Yeah, Streamline Results.
Yeah. Streamline Results. And you are a results-based marketing company. When you say results-based, I kind of get the drift, but what do you mean specifically by that?
So I guess the reason for the choice of language is we kind of base our campaigns off one thing, and that's results, right? I mean, there's lots of SEO companies, performance marketing companies, things of that sort. But when we're kind of selling ourselves to our client base, we don't say like, hey, we're going to get you 150 backlinks this month and 2 blog posts. We say we're going to get you results, right? So whether that's phone calls, form fills, et cetera, then that's kind of how I formulated that line there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's why I usually tell people. It's like a lot of agencies, different people come to me. I'm like, I can get you rankings. That's what you're coming to me for. I want results. I don't really give a crap if it takes 1 backlink or 500 backlinks.
Precisely.
Results. So
there's no gold, silver, bronze packages here.
Yeah, a lot of SEO companies are that way.
Mhm.
The only thing that we do different is we don't really have gold, silver, bronze. It's a matter of what's your population size, and
Yep.
that's about it. That's the only real difference. So how did you get started, if you will, in SEO? Because everybody has their story. Tell me a little bit about your background. Are you a father, your husband? You've had any ups and downs, that sort of thing? Because everybody's always
Pretty much all of
curious.
those. Yeah. So you want the long story or the short one?
Either one, honestly. Long
Intermediate.
stories better for me. I like hearing all the details. So,
All right. So going back to well, I'll talk about myself for a bit, I guess. So yeah, I'm a father, husband. We have 5 kids. I live in Southern California. Yeah, I've been here since I've actually lived here ever since high school and everything, and kind of grew up all around the world prior to. I was born in Hawaii, moved to Guam and Israel, and then California after that. And so I ended up getting a scholarship to play football in college. And so when I was in college, I was always like pretty good in school. Like even in high school, I got a 4.4. College, I was one of the top of my class, and playing sports, they used to give you more credits than you should be taking because they always expected you to like drop a class or two. That way, those guys that were kind of on the bubble, they were always eligible, right? Because if you
mm,
only have 4 classes and you fail one, then you can't play. If you have 6 classes and you drop out of two, you have four, you're still eligible, right? And
yep.
so, one of my classes was a web design class because I was always like super interested in learning about it and making my MySpace page really cool back then, right?
I
And so,
remember those days.
yeah, just copying
MySpace,
scripts
man.
online and putting it on
That's
there, and
crazy.
um, since school came kind of easy to me, I would miss class all the time and this and that, and show up for the test and like still like get good grades and everything. And I started doing that to the design class. So I missed the first like couple days of it, and then showed up, and everyone's website was like 10 times better than mine, and I was trying to
Mm,
like catch up, but just like if you've never seen HTML before, it's a whole different language, right?
yeah.
And even just something as simple as like putting an image on your website, it's like, oh, you have to put that image inside of a certain folder and then call that file path to make that thing pop up there. And I was like, I had no idea how to do it. And so I ended up dropping that class. And,
Mm.
fast forward a little bit, I had attempts in playing the NFL, and, got cut more than I got playing time. Right. And so, during my downtime, I started kind of learning more about websites again, and kind of made it like a challenge for myself to kind of like get into this. Like, hey, how do I actually like make this thing work? Right. So I ended up making one back in the day when they had Yahoo website builder. That was like one of the
Yep.
first ones you could just drag and
Sure.
drop. And
Yahoo,
it was,
AOL.
yeah, it was
AOL's
this.
was my first website I ever built. I remember getting the damn disc and then, oh, you get a free website. Let me make a free website. And that's how I got started. Same kind of thing.
Yeah. So then I built one, and then I was like, all right, well, now what? Right. I built this website that like, looks awful, but at least I got it done. And then it's like, then I started researching on how to get some traffic and do this and that. And then, Google Maps and things of that sort. I ended up building a pool website for pool service. And I ranked it for pool service Los Angeles, pool cleaning Los Angeles, pool repairs Los Angeles, etc. And then next,
Nice.
that website and that Google listing started getting like 5 calls a day, 10 calls a day, 20 calls a day, 30 calls plus a day in the summertime, etc. And so I actually built like a little pull route from there because I was like, oh, like,
Hmm.
well, let this things go to waste. And then I ended up like making a small pull route, selling the pull route, and I still
Hmm.
had digital assets still there. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this again in another city. And then I did it again.
So you
And then,
guys started pretty young
yeah,
and you basically created a business off of Google My Business or getting
yes,
calls
mhm,
and what we would call nowadays rank and rent. And then you just sold the route and then you kept the digital asset part of it. So what
correct.
did you do with the digital asset of it after you were done?
I ended up doing like actually the rank and rent method where I
Okay.
basically leased it to a local pool service, whoever is paying me, money during that month. And then I kind of went with the approach of, hey, I'm going to forward this phone number to you for, 3, 4 days. And then I'm going to call you. And if you want to continue it, this is how much it's going to cost. And pretty much every single time they almost, signed up for it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a very good method to use. We used to run a rank and rent program and build out websites and stuff. A lot of our clients are rank and rent people.
Mhm.
So generally speaking, they come to us mainly for content because I think content's the biggest and hardest aspect of it because they want press releases and they want blogs but you got to have good content and most of the time it's not as simple as throwing it into an AI and getting great content that will rank. So
Yeah, that's
But
just the
that's
beginning of it
awesome.
with all the AI stuff now.
Yeah, I mean I just saw a Himozi graph. I believe he posted on YouTube. He's comparing GP3 to GP4,
Mhm.
and it's unbelievable. He said, you know what's not scary is not GP4. He said, go to
Mhm.
something like what would GP40 look like. He said
Yeah.
it is definitely. He said if you don't get on the bandwagon now, he said you will be left behind. So what you have now, I tell people GP3 is really go watch Short Circuit.
Mhm.
That's what GP3 is. It's basically just learning from everybody right now. So with the information we give it. So but that's cool. So from there you went, how did you proceed further?
Yeah, so I did this same thing, same niche in another city, and then I went exclusively pretty much with, it wasn't even called the rank and rent method at that time. It was just a method, right? It's just I
Yeah, it
was
was
just
just make
building,
money.
yeah, making money exactly. So I was just building, more and more Google listings and kind of growing that
Uh-huh.
thing out. And then I started getting into affiliate marketing, right? So obviously,
Okay.
ClickBank was one of the first ones that I got into, selling like digital products and making individual landing pages for the product, promoting it, ranking for those keywords, and yada yada yada. And then I got into more so like on not e-commerce, but like e-commerce affiliate, where like there's a company called kegrators.com, and they sell everything keg graders, right? From the handles to
Mhm.
the taps to the fridges and parts and everything else you can imagine in there. And so I was actually through Commission Junction, I became an affiliate of theirs, and I built a website, and I was trying to like rank for like those main level like kegerator keywords, and I just
Mhm.
wasn't getting much traction, right? Like I was like there, but I wasn't. I was like page like bottom of page 2, middle of page 1 for some of the keywords, and like the traffic just wasn't there. And then I started doing a little bit of research, and I kind of figured that like, you know what? This website has so much potential if I just expand upon my product base. So I made a page for every single part number of the majority of like their top level kegerators, and it ended up being like almost like a 28,000 page website. Obviously, I didn't do that all by hand. I had
28,000 page
28,000.
website.
Yeah,
So
because
what
if you think
happened
of
once you what happened once you hit those type of numbers?
so once I hit those kind of numbers with it, I mean, anybody that Googled anything that had to do with kegerator or parts of the kegerator or levers or handles, etc., it basically pulled up on there. I mean, also if you're Googling the part number for something, there's probably like a high chance that you're going to purchase. Right. So I'm
Hmm.
not going to Google the part number for for a TV unless if I know what that part number
So
is, there's a
I
good chance
want
that
you
I'm
to
already
kind
buying
of
it.
repeat that because this is where even in local SEO, people will go, "Well, I want to rank for plumber in whatever city," and they go, "Well, it
Mhm.
has so many freaking search volume," and they don't ever want to touch the long tail keywords. Why? Because they say, "Well, the long tail don't got that much search volume; it's only got 10." But what is it? They got a high possibility of actually purchasing from you. They're not just going
Correct.
plumber in Los Angeles. They're going, for example, broken or busted pipe in Orlando, and they're probably looking for a solution. They're probably really going to buy from you. They're not just looking to
Yeah.
see which plumbers are out there. So,
For sure. And then I have that similar approach for a lot of my, so when we get to like the agency startup side of it, one of my first companies was a pest control company. And so, he ended up recently selling his company for like $12.5 million, but he was my very first like paying SEO customer. And then, it took him from day one to almost 12 years later. And he ended up selling for a significant amount. And this was like the only way that he marketed was our local SEO and AdWords basically. And so what I kind of did for him is, like, let's say if like your wife runs to the house and sees like a black widow spider, right?
mhm.
She's probably going to freak out, and she's not going to type in like spider. She might say like black widow pest control or something along
Yep.
those lines, right? So like species plus city was actually like an untouched term. Pest control, forget it. Like everyone's going after pest control or rodent
Yeah, even
control, rodent
even now,
elimination.
most people still only go for pest control. And when they
Yeah,
come to us, we'll go, well, what's are all the different types of pests that you remove? Like I'm working with one right now: squirrel, raccoon, bat,
ant.
armadillos,
Yep.
ants, all that. Termites,
Mhm.
termites a big one. Squirrels, raccoons, just different type of seasons, stuff like that. But and then you will write a whole page just on armadillo removal or squirrel removal, and they're like,
Exactly.
why would I want on my website a
Mm.
page about the animal? It's like these people are wanting to remove the animal. They don't give a crap about just pest removal,
For sure.
So
And all
yeah,
this is
that's
content,
interesting.
right? It's another avenue to get traffic to your website, even like a pest library. And that's almost something I do every single time now. And luckily, I get to kind of rinse and repeat it a little bit. But once you build one of them, you can really
Mm-hmm.
apply that towards anything. And if you link it the right way and you source it the right way, it kind of gives credit to where you got that content from. So even if you pull content from Wikipedia talking about armadillos,
Mm-hmm.
you source it there, it goes back and forth. You have a whole library of information about this. Then when you start linking your internal pages about armadillo removal and
Yep.
etc., then it has more weight behind everything versus just pumping out like rinse and repeat content and hoping it works.
Yeah. We kind of talk about the same thing. It's like if you're talking about something in an area, you can quote and you can interlink or outbound and do outbound links too. Things that they're not in your niche, they're not in your competition, but they're about the area or about that specific thing,
Hmm.
et cetera. Kind of the same thing you're talking about. So the content is there for internal linking and structure, which is what most people don't get. It's like, even though I'm a black hat, I'll tell people all the time, it's like, your number one factor is the internal linking and the structure of your site. If you give me the proper structure and internal linking, I can generally rank a website without
Oh yeah.
ever touching any of the shady stuff. So, but yep,
If you do on site the right way for a local customer, you almost never have to go to anything external from that, or offsite, I should
it's
say.
true. It's
Yeah.
very true. I've talked about that. It's like, I have clients that want it. It's like, first thing I would do, here's a proper site structure. And if they come to me, we're not getting any rankings. So, well, let me look at the site structure. I look at the site structure. Well, we need about 40 to 50 pages, and I'm going to put them at this amount of content. I said, you just dropped, let's say, 50,000 words of content. Google's going to pay attention.
For
Because
sure.
especially when people start looking and searching for content about that, and the more content you have and the more keywords you have and articles and blogs about it, they're going to go, this person's an authority on that specific subject. And that's what you really want. And so it's interesting. You use kind of the same method that we do too. So, but yep. So you went from pest control. When you came out of pest control, kind of what did you do go from there?
Well, that
Because
was kind of
you haven't even really started your agency at this time. This
yeah,
is just
exactly.
you.
So
This is just you actually putting in the work and figuring out what works.
precisely, yeah. So going back to the affiliate side of things, I made this website and it was beasting it. I mean, there was quarter after quarter, I was one of their top affiliates, and then sometimes like the absolute top one. And so they actually reached out to me personally and said, "What if you did this for our website, and we'll give you 25% of your highest month, and we'll give that to you for 2 years. So whatever 25% or whatever my commission was, they'll give me a 25% kicker on top of that, and make that
Uh-huh.
my salary technically for 2 years." To basically do what I
Nice.
did for mine for them. And so I was like, this is a
Nice.
no brainer. Like, why wouldn't you guys just do this yourself? And that's when I kind of found that this is actually like a skill that a lot of people don't really know about. Right. And it's like, oh, there's people who pay me to do this for them. I was just kind of doing it internally to generate money for myself, not necessarily do it for other people and have them pay me like a retainer. And so that was
Mm,
kind of my first introduction to that. And so obviously I signed the deal. I was like, why not make 25% more guaranteed? Right. And so I did
yeah.
that. And then obviously I did have to give over my site to them and this and that. So that way there's no more competing and anything like that.
Yeah.
So I merged everything over
But you're
301,
essentially
everything's all right.
making basically 40 something percent, almost 50%, almost the equivalent of being a partner in the company, basically, really,
Pretty
if you
much.
look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
And so then once
interesting.
that happened, then I kind of realized that there's actually a niche for, creating something where people pay you to do this for them. And then coincidentally, within, a handful of weeks later, one of my father's friend's son was starting a pest control company. He was working for another company, and then he was branching out and doing his own thing. And then he, talked to my dad somehow and just mentioned that he needed a website. And so I
Mm,
was like, yeah, I'll build you a website. Sure. A couple $100, gave him a really good deal. And then from there, kind of that same thing, like, well, now what, that I have a website? It's like, well, now we got to rank you. We got to go here, go there, do all these things like that. And then he was a pretty like religious man and very like tied into his church. And
hmm.
so after I did a really good job for him, he told, his friends. And
Yeah.
then his friends happen to be in the pest control niche as
Referral
well.
marketing, basically.
Referral
Yeah.
marketing, yeah. And then next thing you know, you fast forward like 6, 9 months, and I have like almost 20 pest control companies. Just boom, like everyone
Nice.
just kind of talked to each other, and then it just kind of kept growing from there. And then at that point, you have an established business, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna call this what it is. And then I picked a name called Streamline Results. And
Mm.
then because like a lot of people, when you talk to them, they just say like, what, I just want to streamline this, or I want to, I want to streamline, my processes. I just want to whatever.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm going to streamline your results, right? That's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of what
kind
I
of like
thought of.
if you study for what's his name for the Wolf of Wall Street and everything is straight
The
line,
Jordan
method,
Belfort.
Jordan
Yeah,
Belfort straight line method and stuff. I prefer that straight shooter. Are you a straight shooter, shoot from the hip? That sort of guy. You don't, pull any punches type thing. It's just we're here. Essentially, you're here to get results. You're coming to straight line, you come into your company to get results, not necessarily backlinks, not necessarily content and all that
precisely.
crap. You're coming in there to get results. So you were in pest control. Are you now a generalist, or you're still kind of in the pest control niche? And from there, I would ask you, if you wound up getting more into generalist, do you think it's harder to be a generalist or to be more into just the niche?
So now we have around, I mean, if you fast forward, 12
Mm-hmm.
years, we have 200, or a little over 250 customers. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all different types of stuff. I would say about 60% of our business as far as like our clients individually, around
Mm.
60% of them are local businesses. And so we've
Mm-hmm.
always kind of stayed with that local business, more so in the home services niche. So not just like pest control, but I would say like our
Yeah.
our biggest quantifiable niche is home services. So that's your plumbing,
Yeah.
HVAC, pest control, pool service, construction, remodel, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And so
kind of the same with us. I've never quote unquote done niche, even though I know it's easier per se, mainly because once you have a template, once you know how to do something in that specific niche, you can just same thing over and over and over and over and
Oh, for
over
sure.
again.
And then once you have a
But
niche too, so like what we do is as we have numerous niches in a pocket, like you said, once you create that strategy, you can repeat it. And also like you have certain properties that you acquire over periods of time as well, right? So if I have, pest control, I'm going to probably buy, 100 plus pest control domains. And now I can
yep,
have my own PBN network. And then,
yep.
and I don't sell these links to anybody. These are all internal for the customers in a sense, And so I can basically have a piece of content and push it across a whole network, and they all get high industry relevant links going back to them as well, and just shoot up any page I want to for almost any keyword.
Yeah, that's another thing that I learned while we were building our agency too. Because at first we're buying things and buying links and buying the assets we need. Now it's more we've built out our own assets. We build out our own, if you will, internal things that we don't sell. The things we do sell has nothing to do with our own internal processes. A lot of it had to do
Yeah.
with how can I make. We used to build location pages
Mhm.
by manually, and now I went, well, how can we do it more, or if you will, more efficient? And that's why we built the WordPress plugin that we use to build out the location pages and pull everything from the Google API. It's kind of the same thing as you're
Yeah.
building your agency. I tell people all the time, it's a matter of you build your agency, you start building out, you're going to fail, you're going to screw up, and then you're going to figure out why you screw up. And then guess what? You fix it. And then you're going to go along a little bit further. You're going to screw up again. And you figure out why, and then you fix it again. It's just a constant learning. So now you're at about 250 something clients. You kind
Mhm.
of do home services, not really niche down, anything of that nature. So
Yeah, there's
that's
definitely
kind of where you're
clusters,
at.
obviously, right? Yeah, there's
Oh
clusters. We
yeah.
we still have a bunch of pest control, a bunch of pool service, plumbing, etc. But it's just kind of like it's not individual. Like, oh, we only take pest control local customers.
Yeah, there are a
Uh,
lot of agencies out there. That's all they do is they niche down. And
oh
I
yeah,
know like Josh Nelson, he teaches that, and that's a really good method if you can want to grow really, really fast. And I agree with the method. It's just I'm in a position where I do general mainly because I can't just work with agencies that only do havoc. I mean, I could technically, but you know, it's not something that most people want from us. But interesting. So you scaled your agency. Where are you? So you're at like 250 clients right now. And what would you say is probably the biggest, pain point that you had in growing your agency that other people could learn from, you know?
So my biggest thing was basically being the bottleneck. And I think
Mm,
anyone that's, very good at their craft, then they kind of, I don't want to say it's a control thing, but it's like as I'm working on customers, like I'm working on them, right? Because no
yeah.
one can do it better than me. And that's kind of like the way I've always been kind of thinking. And then when you have that approach to it, your clients get the utmost quality, but you can only have so many clients, right?
Mhm.
So
There's
like I
only
was
so
kind of
much time that you personally can put in, unless you
exactly.
clone yourself. But
Unless you
we're not
clone
at that
yourself.
point with AI yet.
No, no. And so that was really the biggest thing is kind of giving up responsibility,
Mm,
and trusting other people to do what they should be doing for them, and them kind of trusting you with like your hard work and
mm.
your reputation, and basically counting on them, right? And so like income is good, we can afford the staff, things of that sort, but it's just giving the like that trust
The
away, or
trust.
that control
So
away, like
how did
stuff.
how did you get to the point where you can trust somebody to basically say, "Here's my baby, here's my agency, make sure you don't screw it up."
Very small leashes in the beginning.
Yeah,
So
very.
basically what I did is I never like put an ad out like, "Hey, we're hiring," and get applications. I always like
Mm,
inquired for finding contract work, right? So I'll be
mhm,
like, "Hey, I got this website that I need help with. How
mm,
much does it cost for you to kind of do these things for me, right?" And then someone will do
mhm.
that work, and I am either like, "Wow, they did a good job," or I'm like, "I'm not using that person again," right?
Yeah.
And so as that kind of happens more and more and more, I kind of just basically built a Rolodex of people, and
Mm,
then the ones that consistently kept doing high quality work for me, I kept using them more and more and more until it got to a point
mm.
where I'd say, okay, like you need to be part of this team in a sense, right? And then you kind of figure out financially what that means for them and what they're going to expect. And
With
then
their
as long as you
goals
can,
and stuff
what their
are, yeah.
goals and all that stuff, yeah. And then even to this day, like where I kind of like hang my hat is I am, like we talked earlier, you're great at sales. That's my forte, right? Like I haven't
Mhm.
stopped talking since we went live, right? Like I can talk all
Yeah,
day, blah 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 blah
same
blah,
thing.
sell ice to the
The
Eskimos and
gift of
everything in
gab.
between. Yep, exactly. This like for me, like the most fun is getting in those conversations with people and
Mm,
just going through that process. And by the time you finish your pitch, they're like, that guy knows what he's talking about. I
yeah,
should talk to him again, right? And that's kind of
yeah.
how like I build my rapport with my prospective customers. And so, kind of giving up what I do or emphasizing what I do best and making that kind of my main job. My
Mhm.
main job right now is basically being like the conductor for things in the company, and
Yep.
then like the sales guy. Like our sales team, they can close the business, but I always like to at least, talk to the customer or potential customer
Mm,
at least once prior to close. I mean,
mm.
call that whatever you want to, but I mean, in this day and age, like there's so many SEO companies that are out there. And that also
Yeah,
means that there's so many people that we should never be doing business with. And
yeah,
so for me as the business owner, I don't want to sign somebody up, put all this hard work and, time into something just for some guy to be like, yeah, I don't want to work with you anymore 3 months later. And we all
yeah.
wasted
It's
everyone's
a pain.
time and
It's a
money and
waste of time. It's like
precisely.
having an employee and you train them for 3 months and then they bounce. It's
Yep.
like I'm looking for long-term relationships. I want to
Exactly.
grow
Yeah.
your agency. I want to grow your business. I'm not looking for like 1 or 2. I want you to get to 20, 30 clients, something like that. Or even if it's rank and rent, 20, 30 assets, stuff like that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think you really hit on a point. It's like I was telling you earlier, I have behind my green screen, I have a whole library, probably 1,000 something books. And then every section copywriting, one of the sections is on business and scaling and systems. And one of the biggest problems I also found too was the business owner. And I think it's not necessarily it's not a bad thing. It's just when you're first starting out, you are the person doing everything.
Yeah.
You are the person growing it. But you have to, if you ever want to take it beyond that and you ever want your life back and not to be working on the business, you want to work on the business, not in the business per se, like it says in E-Myth.
Mhm.
You have got to learn to delegate and give those tasks out to people. Like I have a PA. It's like I never check my emails ever.
Mhm.
And she's the one that does all that. Or if I need to do something, she does it. Then I have, my customer service. And then I started doing other things. And it was like, it is so freeing to not have to do all those things and just go, what am I good at? There's a couple of things like, what's the 20% of the things that actually bring money into the company? I'm more of a facilitator, and I tell them all the time, it's like, as long as we have work, y'all will all have jobs. And
Mhm.
that's my main job, is to make sure we all have work, is to bring in the sales and stuff. So I mainly will always concentrate, just like you, on sales and doing whatever it takes, whether generally that's coming up with offers, getting on some sales calls to talk to some of the clients and stuff like that. But overall, I've removed myself out, because I think that is when a lot of people want to go beyond, let's say 20, 30 clients, and they want to go further, they're going to have to remove themselves out of the business. And they kind of like, how do I trust this person? How do I find people that will care for it just like me, and stuff like that? So that's interesting. Let's
Yeah,
see, we got
it's the hardest thing to give up, right? Is that first piece of control. But then once you're not putting in your 18-hour days anymore, you're like, you know what, this isn't so bad. I get to actually enjoy all the hard work I put into this.
Yeah, it's like the moment I took Facebook Messenger off my phone, and you don't hear ding 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 all the time, it's definitely freeing and stuff. And I let my people answer certain things, and I don't have to deal with it. And I've had people tell me, no, you need to be in your business all the time. And because I've literally told people, it's like, let me put this, if you think you have a business and you cannot walk away from your business for longer than a few days, you don't have a business, you have a job. It's
Yeah.
that simple for me. I could literally walk away from my business, go on vacation, and I have people that I could talk to that will still keep me up to date. I have management and stuff in place. I'm not saying it's perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect, so, but it's definitely very freeing not to have to be in it and constantly have your hands in every single thing. So,
For sure. I just got back from a 10-day vacation in the Cayman Islands.
yeah,
And when I come back, I had a full inbox, but there was no like fires to put out. There was nothing urgent because everyone kind of handles it behind the scenes on there. So, and
yeah,
so something I wanted to share too is my dad's he's an entrepreneur. He's always been since I was a young child, and
mm,
one piece of advice he gave me is give your employees overpay your employees and give them trust until they prove you wrong, right? Because
mm,
what that does is it creates like pride in what they're doing in a sense, right? So
yeah,
if you have a job that's a $5,000 a month job, and say, I'm going to pay you 6,500 for that job, right? They're
yeah,
not going to really be finding a competitive wage for that. And if you get the right person, they will go above and beyond every single chance they have to make sure that they do their job for you,
yeah,
if you give them the right kind of trust and also you give them the right kind of compensation.
yeah,
Now you will have bad apples, you will have people, like that's the whole until they prove you wrong thing, right?
yeah,
Hey, if you prove me wrong that I shouldn't have trust you with this kind of thing and paid you
yeah,
what I paid you, then that's on me, right?
yeah.
But that's not going to happen, twice. That's going to happen once, and
Yeah,
then
we
we got to
tell
move on
people
from
all the
there.
time. It's like one of the things one of my mentors told me is like, I trust everyone with God. And then the moment you screw my trust over, I no longer trust you. So basically, you have my trust until you prove me otherwise. And then once that happens, you're gone. It's like one of the good things I think you're saying is you've created a team, though. You've created an environment. I've heard Dan Kennedy talk about this, in which he's talking about, he said, for example, you create a environment in which people like working for you, but they're
Yes,
also scared to lose the job because it's such a good job.
exactly. It's a good situation.
You have a good boss, you have a good job, you have good pay, everything. So, and then Simon Sinek talks about running your company with a culture and things of that nature. I've found it hard to create quote unquote a culture, but I'm an American dealing with Filipino culture, so I still try my best as much as I can to do that and understand, because like for instance, over we got 20 something holidays, and for me it's like that's like a constant siesta. So um different things like that. I mean, but you built a team of people that you could trust and it took time. It was long term. This was not something that happened within 6 months, even, I would say.
No, yeah, it took
Yeah.
to get us like the solid core in place. I mean, it took honestly like well over a year, maybe even close to two
Yeah.
years to get the core like 3 4 people in there that
Yeah.
are like the pillars of my company now. It took a while to find those kind of people.
Yeah. There's I forget the name of the book. I just gave it to Chris Palmer. He's reading it. But basically finding a partner that you kind of work with that jives with you, and it's somewhat team mainly because you got to have that core. It took us probably almost 2 years, and we're just now getting to the place where I can say we're almost there. We're almost there. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, but it's very true. And I think a lot of people, they just think it's going to happen so fast because they look at someone like yourself and go, I want what he has. And they just think it just step one, step two, step three, step four, and it's done. And I don't think it's like that at all. I mean,
No, I
have
mean
you
there
found
there is a
success?
lot of
Is
stuff.
there a book that you read that was like, Jonathan, do these 20 steps and you'll be successful? Or was it through experience and, time and just put in the work?
I mean, I think anyone can learn a skill, but I mean, let's just say with like sports, right? Sometimes you can work as hard as you want to at something, and you may never be like an NFL football player, right?
Yeah.
So some people naturally have a gift sometimes, and I would say that being an entrepreneur, if you don't have like the skin for it, the patience for it, the like be able to take the pressure of it, right? Like the reason why I love it so much is if I fail and I fall on my face, that's on
Hmm.
me. I can't blame anybody else but myself. And when I succeed, it's the same thing, right? Like I'm the person that made this work. I'm the person that made this fail. And having that kind of pressure, especially when it kind of feeds your family, like I
Hmm.
literally thrive on that, right? Like
Yeah.
if you look at my
More of a competitive, you have to almost have like a competitive, I like competition.
very much so.
I
Like if
don't
you look
run
at my
away from it.
career in
Mm.
football, I have 10 game-winning kicks throughout my career. I also
Hmm.
have, so I've never missed a game-winning kick. When the pressure's on the line, boom, like, I'm good. If you look at almost all my misses in my entire career, between 20 to 29 yards, which is like the shortest field goal you can possibly have, right?
When
Because
it quote
you're
unquote didn't really count.
yeah, because you're so complacent. You're like, oh, it's just a chip shot. You show up and oh my God, I
Yeah.
can't believe I did that. Right. But when the
Yeah.
pressure's on, like it kind of makes you who you are. Not to scare away anybody from doing it, but like you have to have that mindset where it's like,
Yeah.
I will not fail no matter how many times, I fall on my face or it's not going the right way or nobody's buying from me if I'm calling them, etc. It's like, I'm not saying to work more or do more, but just you have to be able to be persistent. If you want to do it, you are going to do it. You are the only person getting in the way of like what you want to achieve.
Yep. I would definitely agree with that. It's a matter of being consistent and putting out, as much effort as possible. And a lot of times it's, you're going to, a lot of times you're going to fail. It's like one of the people that succeed more, they succeed more because they failed more, and they're taking more action. I have someone, I have students that I've consulted with, but basically one of the things I've told them all the time is that honestly, I would tell you be honest with yourself because not everybody that wants to be a business owner is a business owner. You might
Precisely.
just be a freelancer. You might
Yeah.
just be an entrepreneur. Just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Because those are vastly different things. Even if you look at the income levels in the United States, everybody wants to be in the top 1%, but no one wants to do what the top 1% does. And the thing is, you could tell me all day long you want to be an agency owner, but reality is, I really watch Eric Thomas. You saying, I want to be like you. He's like, you don't want none of this. You don't want the crap I've went through. You really
Yeah.
don't. All you see is the successes and you don't see everything I went through and constant. I had a student that came here to the Philippines for a while. The moment he came here, this is back in March, is when I had probably 4 or 5 people try to do a coup d'etat and take over the company.
Hmm.
And he saw that. He saw I handle it. I literally at that point I was like, well, do I close doors? Do I shut down? Do I restart over? Do I want to restart over? and he saw how I reacted to it and everything. He's like, I don't think I want an agency no more, bro. This is too much. And I was like, this is where I'm talking about. Everybody thinks they want certain things. It's like, you don't want it a lot of times, because you got to go through a lot of crap, to be at a certain level, and you have to be highly
Yeah, very
competitive,
much.
so, and never
Yeah,
give up tenacity, mindset, all those things. If you ain't got that shit in place, forget about it.
for sure. And then even as we did last year, we closed out at 6.5 million, right? So it's not like we're
Mm,
like humongous, but like we have, a pretty decent amount of revenue for an agency. And when people think about that, they think that, no, that's what I want, right? And
yeah.
really what you want is you want the freedom, because when you have
Mm,
this like big agency, and it, not that it just locks you into it, but like you can't just like walk away sometimes,
yep.
like you have to like truly care about the business and making it thrive, and making sure that your employees are happy,
Yep.
making sure you're delivering to your customers, and etc. And so like when you see like all these big, like big earners, and they're like posting their vacations and their private jets and this and that, it's like, first of all that
Yeah.
stuff's half BS. We all know that, we're marketers, right? But then
Yep.
what they don't show you is, when Grant Cardone was like working like 20-hour days for like
Yep.
3, 4, 5, 6 years of his life before he got to where he is today, right? And
Yep.
yeah, he's a big talker and controversial or whatever you want to talk about, but like that guy busted his tail for a long
To get
period of
where
time
he's at.
to get where he's at. Now you see him flaunting and doing whatever. Or let's say me, right? I go on like 5 vacations a year with my family, and like I post them online or do whatever, and all my
Yep.
buddies are like, dude, you're so lucky, I want to like do what you do and blah blah blah. And it's like, sure, go ahead. Like it's a free country. You can do whatever you would like
Lucky.
to. Like you don't have to work at Enterprise. Like
Yeah.
you can start your own business and do whatever. But like that's all they see, and that's really what they want. What they don't see is like the 18-hour days, working through the night. Putting on the headphones and making a whole like intricate website, and then not even getting sleep, and taking your kids to school in the morning, and then coming
Yep.
back and talking to customers, and then like basically falling asleep for an hour or two, and then waking up and having lunch. And then it's like they don't see all that to get to have 5 vacations a year. All they see is that
Yeah.
you get to have 5 vacations a year, and I want some of that.
Yeah. That's the main thing, is what do you want? It's like one of the questions I've had, forget one of the mentors, but he goes, for instance, how much money do you want to earn in a year? Or how much you want to earn an hour. You figure all that out, then you can go, okay, this is actually how much I need. And most of the time people will say, well, how much you want to earn? Oh, I want to earn 7 figures a year. Really? You haven't even thought about it. It's just a cool thing to say. And if you actually figure out how much it takes, you probably need, let's say 250,000 plus a year. That's about it. And to have the lifestyle most people want. Then there are those that don't want just that lifestyle. They go higher, but figure out that part. And the main part that most people are wanting is this freedom that it gives you. It gives you options. I told you. So the fact is, money does not buy happiness, but it does buy you time so you can figure out what makes you happy. Or it
Yeah.
does give you the ability to have options that will make you happy. So, um, those sort of things. But yep, you're right on that. So, but yep. So time, patience, being patient, working through it, find a good team, being honest with yourself. Um, once you've done all that, how much time, once you say you have a team in place, would you think that you even spend actually in the business? Like when you first started, maybe you're doing 40, 50-hour weeks and stuff like that, or longer. But now how much time do you think you spend in the business once you have the actual team?
It really just depends on the client flow. Like for me, my highest involvement is the initial parts of the acquisition of the customer, and also
Mm-hmm.
the setup of the customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like creating the campaigns, finding angles, really learning about like what they're doing, not so much on the local side, but like I'm having a lot of like, Amazon SEO customers, and e-commerce customers and things of that
Mm-hmm.
sort. So you really have to like dive into it and like analyze who can buy their product, what should we go
Yeah.
for, what kind of audience in AdWords, how can we test conversions, and like that setup process is a little bit intricate, and that's kind of
Yeah.
where I find most of my time now, but it's truly what I love to do. So it doesn't
Yeah.
even really feel like I'm
Doesn't
working so
feel like
much.
work.
Yeah, yeah. I love talking to
Yeah.
people all day and, trying to make them think I'm cool and they should give me their money. And I also love, breaking something down and analyzing it and finding an angle or vulnerability and exploiting it, right? That's kind of where I've always
Yeah.
been very good with things. So on an average week, I mean, I don't want to sound like I don't work at all, but I would say average probably 10 hours to,
Yep.
15 hours or so. And then on the high end, I mean, you're talking about 40, 50 plus, right? It just
Yeah.
depends on the workflow.
Depends. Depends. Generally with us, probably 20%, 20% of the time. It's like at one point I was even thinking about selling. I talked to my one mentor that does, he scale it to sell it. And he told me, he said, with the amount of time you put in, with how much you make, you'd be almost an idiot to sell
Mhm.
it. So the more
Yeah,
you get
that's
out of
actually
it,
a good point. I mean, a lot of people have their exit strategy, which is nice. You get a lump sum, you can do what you want with it. But if you have things on more of that like automated basis, that's like free money for like that's you doing
it's
something once
basically
and getting
essentially
paid for it.
passive. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
essentially passive income.
yeah,
Passive being a joke, but you put in all the work. It's like prior to 2 years ago, no one heard of me. But I had done almost 20 years worth of SEO experience in the just working for myself or working for the other people. And then voila, it comes out of nowhere. You're successful. And they're like, how did that happen? It's like, because I put in 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears, brother.
yeah.
It wasn't just voila, I rolled out of the bed and it just, you instantly had a big ass business. So,
For sure.
nor do I think it should work that way, because if it did work that way, when crap hits the fan and you needed the mindset and the tenacity to take care of it, you will not have it,
Oh
you
no.
know.
I mean, so,
So
some of the struggles of the business. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of everything, I mean, there was numerous times where like I wasn't sure how we're going to make payroll sometimes. Right.
yeah,
And so, you have, 5, 6 employees, each at like 5 grand plus a month. It's like, that's a pretty big nut to have to throw out there every single
yeah,
month. And, like having the ability to like gut check yourself and be like, I am not going to leave or I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing until I
yeah,
make another $30,000 right now. Right.
yeah,
So if it's me picking up the phone and cold calling everybody, if it's me doing that, if it's me, calling
yeah,
other customers and trying to increase the service, or, hey, I'm going to pitch a web design to this person. And that's kind of how you figure out how to truly make money, not necessarily just to like build a business, but how can I make money? And once you
yeah,
learn that trait, then you can do whatever you want to, right? I mean, I run an
yeah,
agency, but I'm also part owner of a construction company. I'm also
yeah,
part owner of numerous e-commerce companies. And once you figure out that trait of how to make money, you can apply that to anything that you want to in life. And that is like your reward.
yeah. And I think one thing I never realized I actually became a business owner. One of my old bosses, he was a doctor. We had 100+ staff. I remember he'd be under so much anxiety and sometimes depression and stuff. It's like, and you never realize it's like how much pressure that comes with it, because it's like when you got staff of 100 and it's not just them, it's their families, it's their kids and
Yeah.
everything else. These are people that you've actually met their kids, worked with their kids, or been around them, and then you almost feel responsible for it, so you kind of have to bust your butt to keep things going. And that pushes a lot of business owners a lot of times, because for instance, without you, they may not have the work, depending on the work, the job situation in the States or over here with us, especially. You are their means, to even have food on the table or whatever. So, and that really, I think, pushes a lot of business owners whenever you start thinking about it. If you have the right boss, they care about the people that are around them. Um, and it's not just about me, 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 me. The sales calls and everything that you take, the late nights you work, are for a bigger picture than just money or having a Lambo or a private jet or whatever these people show. Um, but yeah, I mean, I agree. It's very true. But let's see, we got any questions? I did see one question come in here. I don't know what you use. Dennis says, and I told you to PM me, Dennis, but William, is there any free sources to audit websites? Do you use any local free audit tools to do your foot in the door? Kind of like if you want, how do you do a foot in the door type thing? I mean, I've talked to you before about this, Dennis. You can just drop them to me. I'll do the audit. But
yeah, as far as free goes, I mean, I haven't used. I mean, there's free tools that are out there. I'm just not sure, but I have Bright Local and everything else you can possibly think of when it
yeah,
comes to local, White Spark, etc. And so I usually just run it through there, and then what my approach is now is obviously you have like your mass where you can like cold
yeah,
email a bunch of people, cold call a bunch of people, etc. I've always been more of like a sniper guy versus like a shotgun guy, and
yeah,
so I'll find a couple of accounts. I'm like, I'm gonna get that guy, and so like I'll stay on top of them. I'll do this, I'll do that, and I'm a big fan of like the Loom video. So just like how we're talking now, I have my screen
yeah,
up there. I do a quick little like 5-minute screen share, showing them like, hey, where do I want to improve? Show them the report that I have on my screen, saying, hey, here's where the room for improvement is. I can help you with these kind of stuff. Quick 5-minute video. They see my face. They see I'm not
yep,
some like dirtbag guy that's just going to take their money most likely. Put that in an email, send it off to them, and then just kind of wait. The good thing about Loom is everything's tracked. If it opens, they click
yeah.
on it, they do whatever.
They can
So all
even
those things
comment
are
on
built
them
in.
too.
They
So
can even
that's
comment.
why they're
Actually, a
wonderful.
lot of people comment on them. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so it's kind of been a great tool for us. You can't really do it at mass necessarily, but if you sniper shot who you want to go after, and you make it like you're like you see a girl at the other side of the bar, you're like,
yeah,
ooh, I want that one, right?
yeah,
And so you do whatever you can to make them think you're cool and everything like that, and then you send them off
yep.
your pitch,
It's
your
kind of the same
information.
thing. I had a friend. Me and him used to. His name is Donald Scott. Me and
Mhm.
him, he's a brother. We used to go fishing together. We go to the bridge. He would take out, I think, at least 10 to 13 fishing poles on the bridge and put them all out, right? And we'd catch fish. I mean, we'd clean up, but it's consistently just it was like this type of fish, this type of fish, this type of fish, this type of fish. Then another friend named Ernesto who really taught me what it means to fish. And we'd go get, if you will, frittler crabs. And we would use this specific weight, this specific hook, this specific method. And he taught me how we're going after sheephead today, or we're going after a red drum or black drum, and this is what we're going to do. It's kind of the same thing. You go after specifics. The Loom video and the walkthrough, same method I use, Dennis, and I've shown y'all how to do that. And I've shown y'all how to give value to people in groups and do audits, stuff like that, if you want to do those. But once you get to a certain level, you kind of stop doing those for free anymore. But if you do need them, like I've told y'all before, if you go to rankfortress.com, submit a support ticket because you're already a client, Dennis, just go in there and go to the audit department. They'll audit it, give you the free, if you will, audit, which is just going to be the PDF. If you want me to actually go through it, then you have to pay me. So, but nevertheless, but thank you, Dennis. Just message me if you have to. All right, guys, it's about time. Until next time, we'll get off here, and I got another call to take and stuff like that. But it's been good, Jonathan, and hopefully can have you back on and talk some more and see where you're at in a few more months and stuff. Because I have a feeling you're not going to stop growing. You're going to keep going. So, but I appreciate it,
I
man.
really appreciate the time and having me on here. Love what you're doing. I started following you a couple weeks back, and
Yeah.
you got a lot of good things going on. So I appreciate the hospitality on the show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. You have a good day, and you be blessed.
All right. Take care.
I have so many SEOs that hate me and say that I'm stealing their methods. They bitching and cry, labeling me SEO Black Hat. Was a nobody, now I'm at the top. Most wanted, most loved, bad business owners, and hated by most SEO opponents. You think you're an SEO god, but you're an SEO fraud. Guess I'm the SEO devil, shouting fuck the SEO guys. White hat SEO doesn't make sense, going with the goody goodies. Up in heaven dressed in white, I like black Tims, I like black hoodies. Fake SEOs up there probably had me on some real straight shit. No sleeping all day, no getting my dick licked. Hanging out with the goody two shoes, lounging in paradise, whole shit. Fuck that shit, I wanna use CT, y'all, and get some green geo grids.